reports with his name. As long as you remain indispensable, he'll keep them from sending you into the real war. The Pont Royal was standing in water up to its shoulders, only half a meter shy of the high water mark set in 1700 and something. Fishermen leaned over the parapet wall. The stones were already warm, and people were sitting around with half-closed eyes facing the sun. When they heard the hobnailed boots approaching, some turned away. I plunged into the hubbub of the Latin Quarter. The more people there were, the less conspicuously foreign I was. The waters of the Seine raged in the steel framework of the Pont Solferino. A stout Oriental woman at a produce stand picked up 3 miserable apples and felt them, one after another. Not far away, a private first class and his comrade stood gawking at her. A silver half-moon glistened on her forehead. "Great-looking women they've got here," said the private first class. The other nodded. "I'd be willing to sully the Aryan race with a bit of that." Despite her corpulence, she was elegant, but she behaved as though she had no right to be on the street. When the owner of the shop came out and glared at her suspiciously, she put the apples back. After a few uncertain steps, she noticed the soldiers, who were standing in her way with grins fixed on their faces. I stepped behind the field-gray uniforms and ducked into a narrow side street. I was walking uncomfortably fast, setting a blistering pace, in fact, when what I actually wanted to do was stroll. I counted the hotel signs as they glided past overhead. Go into one, I thought. Ask for a room on the top floor. Take off your boots, easy does it. Open the floor-to-ceiling window, and let time slip motionlessly by. I slowed my pace. The shop across the street was several rooms deep. Back in the farthest room, a light bulb was burning. I crossed the street. In front of the entrance, there was a stack of chairs with pink coverings. I bent down and touched the splitting silk. Someone in the rear of the shop raised his head. The light made his face stand out sharply against the shadowy background. When he looked at me, I straightened up quickly, as if I'd been caught doing something forbidden. I looked for wider streets, more people, more of a crush. Most of the shops were already closed, empty behind reddish-brown metal bars, offering nothing to the hurrying passers-by. A bakery was still open, though the line was long. I joined it, avoiding people's eyes. They kept their distance from the uniform. I bought a loaf of flour-sprinkled bread. As I stepped out, a garçon was sweeping up wood shavings from the sidewalk. I passed a black gate I'd seen before, without ever noticing that it led not into a building, but into a narrow street, practically an alley. I drew myself up to decipher the faded street sign. Rue de Gaspard? The gate was shut. Although I was curious, I hesitated. Then I leaned on the gate, and one of its panels gave way. Passing pedestrians scrutinized me as I stood there like that, half in the street, half in the entrance. I looked past the iron threshold. The little street disappeared in the shadow of a wall, gray light on the pavement. I slipped through the gate and set off down the alley. Closed shutters everywhere. Where the buildings were lowest, the evening sun shone through. When I turned the corner, I came upon a junk dealer who was carrying his wares back into his shop. With a bronze bust in his arms, he blocked my way, unintimidated by my uniform. I noticed a pendulum clock leaning against the wall, walnut housing, polished brass pendulum. I said, "Il me semble que j'ai vu exactement la même à Munich." My unaccented French surprised him. "C'est possible, monsieur. Je l'ai acheté d'une famille qui a vécu longtemps en allemand." "Quel est votre prix?" The dealer named a price for the clock, a sum no Frenchman would consider paying. I offered half as much. He wouldn't yield so much as a centime, claiming he'd promised not to sell the clock for less than it was worth. I said, "Well then, I'm sorry," and penetrated farther into Rue de Gaspard. A young woman was